Uh, yeah, crypto was doing well until October. So crypto was actually up like 36%. And then from October to the end of the year, it actually had in some cases, like a 40% drawdown.
Yeah.
One was there was a big deleveraging. There was basically a pricing exploit that took place on one crypto exchange that led to what they call an automatic deleveraging. Then that cascaded across all the crypto exchange, and it was the biggest deleveraging event in the history of crypto, bigger than what happened with FTX after
So what
FTX
happened?
failed.
The people with leverage got unwound and they were forced out of longs, and it kind of wrecked the trend.
Correct, and it was a pricing error, but it liquidated over 2 million accounts globally. It wiped out, I think, a third of all market makers, which are important for they're the equivalent of central banks, and it crippled a lot of crypto exchanges. Well, we just think 2026 will look like last year. So our base case is we are strong in the first part of the year,
Okay.
but then we have a drawdown that feels like a bear market,
Okay.
but will rally strongly, and I think at least a 10% gain.
지금 비트코인이 가파른 하락세를 보이고 있습니다. 어디가 저점인지 예측하기 어려운 불안한 상황이 이어지고 있습니다. 가격은 벌써 몇 달째 내리막길을 걷고 있고 하락하는 힘이 계속해서 시장을 밑으로 누르고 있습니다. 최근까지 안전자산으로 평가받는 금과 은이 상승하는 데 동시에 나스닥을 포함해 국내 주식까지 불장이다 보니까 그에 따른 기대감이 컸지만 암호화폐 시장은 그저 하락만 나오고 있어 오히려 지금은 짜증이 나는 구간이라고 생각합니다. 이더리움의 하락폭은 더 깊으며 솔라나 역시 연일 새로운 저점을 갱신하고 있습니다. 가상화폐 관련 주식들도 큰 타격을 입었습니다. 코인베이스 주가는 고점 대비 50%나 하락한 상태입니다. 시장의 다음 흐름을 주도할 것으로 기대받던 기업들조차 현재 빠른 속도로 자금이 유출되며 어려움을 겪고 있습니다. 모든 여건이 완벽해 보였기에 지금의 타이밍이 더욱 당혹스럽게 느껴집니다. 백악관은 친화적인 입장을 보이고 있고 규제 당국 또한 긍정적인 태도를 취하고 있으며 드디어 기관들의 채택도 본격화되고 있기 때문입니다. 피델리티는 스테이블 코인을 출시했고 SEC와 CFTC는 미국을 가상화폐의 중심으로 만들겠다고 발표했습니다. 그럼에도 불구하고 비트코인은 매수세를 찾지 못하고 있으며 시장 분위기는 FTX 사태 이후 가장 어두운 상태입니다. 이런 상황에서 유명 분석가인 톰리가 주목받고 있습니다. 그는 지난 몇 년간 시장에서 가장 강력하게 상승을 외쳐온 전문가 중 한 명입니다. 대다수가 회의적일 때도 그의 예측은 자주 적중하곤 했죠. 그런 그가 모두가 시장을 떠나려 하는 지금 다시 한번 대담한 전망을 내놓았습니다. 비트코인은 끝나지 않았으며 진짜 상승은 아직 시작도 하지 않았다는 주장입니다. 그의 근거는 단순한 희망사항이 아닙니다. 시장 내부에서 실제로 일어나고 있는 데이터에 기반하고 있습니다. 과연 톰리가 어떤 통찰력을 제시하고 있는지 직접 확인해 보시죠.
We just think 2026 will look like last year. So our base case is we are strong in the first part of the year.
Okay.
But then we have a drawdown that feels like a bear market.
Okay.
But will rally strongly, and I think at least a 10% gain, maybe more now. Educated guess is that it can be a policy shock, like something coming from the White House, or the market testing the new Fed.
Okay.
Or both, but that is probably like last year then. So it's a market decline because people take risk off the table, but it's not really an economic downturn. So we end up recovering really well. Let's say you're in your house, but the lights are off completely, but you're feeling your way around. And then so you feel like something fuzzy, and then you figure out it's your living room. Or if you hit your foot on a corner and then you're in the kitchen.
Right.
That's what I think trying to navigate markets are like, because we don't really know where we are at any moment, but then you try to find what gives you situational awareness. And we do that by doing a lot of cross-market analysis. So we take a lot of cues from volatility or what credit markets are doing or commodities, and that informs us of what the state of the equity market is. But a lot of our work also is trying to look at, with this current snapshot of all that, where does it place us? Does it put us back into 1950 or 70? Well, a couple things that are observable. One is earnings growth is picking up this year, not just in the U.S., but globally.
Yeah.
That's not usually late cycle.
Okay.
And market breadth has improved a lot.
Okay.
This year, someone said it's like a rolling risk appetite cycle, but a lot of things are going up that means the market's broadening. Actually, it's also broadening outside the U.S.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is there's arguably reasons to be optimistic incrementally, like whether it's AI or blockchain. I think, especially coming out of Davos, when I didn't go to Davos, but I was following a lot of the reports and the panels. It's clear to me traditional financial institutions are starting to build on blockchain as a productivity driver. That's a big story in the U.S. especially.
Fidelity just announced their stablecoin. It's huge.
Yeah, that's right. And then today, the SEC and CFTC had a joint announcement. They want to make sure the U.S. is the crypto capital of the world.
Yeah.
And then there's onshoring happening kind of everywhere and defense. So there's things that are driving, like silver and gold are, like, if I was just an average investor, that trade has been working like every day and for weeks on end. So it makes sense. People are investing and they're astounding. And I talked to Tom DeMark today about that. He does think there's still room for that to extend.
He doesn't think it's exhausted yet.
No, he thinks gold can get to 8,900. It might be asset allocation because I had a brief conversation with Joyce Chang. Yeah, she was saying if you just do high net worth, 0.5% allocation incrementally into gold, now you're at 9,000. It's just small amounts of money moving into precious metals that could get us there. I mean, today's kind of a snapshot, right? Today, there was a big intraday decline in gold, and now it's like down 1%. And silver had a huge intraday decline, and it's like barely down. And then someone's telling me, I'm not a commodity expert, but now I'm like learning a lot on the fly. But like the physical market's even tighter. So the prices are actually higher in the physical than in these financial markets.
Okay.
And I'm going to quote Tom DeMark. He says this looks more like 79.80. So then it might be a topping process. I mean, someone pointed out, and I think it's correct that, and again, we're not really sure exactly why, but if someone said this is everything but the dollar, then maybe it makes sense.
최근 비트코인의 가파른 하락세를 보며 우려하시는 분들이 많으실 겁니다. 하지만 분석가 톰리는 현재 상황이 결코 우연이 아니라고 설명합니다. 이미 지난 10월부터 시작된 특정 사건의 여파가 지금까지 이어지고 있다는 분석인데요. 이번 폭락의 핵심 원인은 지난 10월에 발생한 대규모 디레버리징, 즉 부채 축소 사태에 있습니다. 당시 한 가상화폐 거래소에서 가격 시스템의 허점을 노린 공격이 발생했는데요. 이것이 시장 전체의 자동 청산을 유도하는 트리거가 되었습니다. 그 결과는 매우 파괴적이었습니다. 전 세계적으로 200만 개 이상의 계좌가 폐쇄되었고 시장의 유동성을 책임지던 마켓 메이커들의 3분의 1이 시장에서 퇴출당했습니다. 톰리의 분석에 따르면 이번 사건은 FTX 사태를 포함해 가상화폐 역사상 가장 큰 규모의 디레버리징이었습니다. 시장의 충격이 워낙 컸기 때문에 코인베이스 같은 대형 거래소들조차 그 영향에서 자유롭지 못했습니다. 특히 재무 구조가 취약했던 중소형 거래소들은 여전히 그 피해를 복구하는 데 어려움을 겪고 있습니다. 하지만 톰리는 이러한 위기 상황 뒤에는 항상 일정한 회복 패턴이 존재한다고 강조합니다. 지난 2022년의 사례를 보면 대규모 청산 사태 이후 투자 심리가 회복되기까지 약 8주에서 12주의 시간이 소요되었습니다. 중요한 점은 우리가 현재 바로 그 시간적 범위의 끝자락에 와 있다는 것입니다. 그는 이제 시장을 누르던 최악의 매도세가 거의 마무리 단계에 접어들었다고 판단하고 있습니다. 물론 2026년도 상반기 중에 하락장과 유사한 수준의 큰 조정이 한 번 더 올 수는 있습니다. 하지만 톰리는 그것이 장기적인 침체가 아니라 매우 빠르게 회복되는 일시적인 과정이 될 것으로 내다보고 있습니다. 기술적 분석으로 볼 때 이더리움이 $2,000 초반선까지 조정받을 가능성도 열려있지만 그것은 추가 하락의 시작이 아니라 이번 하락 사이클의 진정한 바닥이 될 확률이 높습니다. 과연 시장은 톰리의 예측대로 회복의 길로 들어설 수 있을까요? 이어지는 인터뷰 영상을 통해 구체적인 분석 근거들을 좀 더 자세히 살펴보겠습니다.
Yeah, crypto was doing well until October. Few things happened in October.
Okay.
So crypto was actually up like 36%. And then from October to the end of the year, it actually had in some cases, like a 40% drawdown.
Yeah.
One was there was a big deleveraging. There was basically a pricing exploit that took place on one crypto exchange that led to what they call an automatic deleveraging. Then that cascaded across all the crypto exchange, and it was the biggest deleveraging event in the history of crypto, bigger than what happened with FTX after SB. It was a pricing error, but it liquidated over 2 million accounts globally. It wiped out, I think, a third of all market makers, which are important for they're the equivalent of central banks, and it crippled a lot of crypto exchanges. So their balance sheets took a huge hit. In 2022, it took about 8 to 12 weeks before risk appetite could recover. So we're like kind of in that outside window. In Bitcoin, I think there is a turning of the holders, because one of them is, Bitcoin's like 14 years old. So like the crypto punk, the 20-year-old is like becoming a mature person.
Right.
And many of them made fortunes.
Yeah.
So they've been selling their Bitcoin.
Okay.
And then, as you know, there's this quantum risk that is more Bitcoin specific, because quantum developments are accelerating.
Yes.
And about a third of Bitcoin wallets are not upgradable. So they're actually quantum vulnerable. Quantum operates more like an ASIC, like a brute force of a repetitive calculation. So it can break encryption. So Bitcoin's encryption is what can be broken. You're right. So you can break a lot of encryption. But banks hopefully would be upgrading all their customer passwords, force you to do a new type of password. And that's how you avoid quantum vulnerability. The thing is, like a lot of Bitcoin wallets like Satoshi's haven't ever been upgraded. So actually from a technical perspective, this is what Tom DeMark actually is expected. So he's been hired as an advisor at BitMine, and he actually told us Thursday was an important day. And it turns out today was an important day because we've had a big decline in crypto. But this is more akin to the end of the selling, not the beginning.
So you don't think we're seeing another leg lower?
Well, for instance, Ethereum might go to 2,400, but it's a touch, and then that's the bottom. But that's going to coincide with precious metals peaking. I mean, remember, precious metals has sucked all the risk appetite out of speculation, out of crypto, right? A lot of it's come out of crypto into precious metals. But there is a really big story around blockchains, which is Wall Street dismissed blockchain and crypto as like just experiments. But now financial institutions are rebuilding settlement layers using blockchains. That's what Standard Chartered said at Davos. The UBS CEO says that in a few years, there's a convergence between digital assets and traditional finance, because blockchains offer finality and a lot more security. And Larry Fink says he thinks that the entire financial system is going to operate on one common blockchain.
But why is that good for Bitcoin?
Well, it's probably good for Ethereum. That's really where stablecoins have been built. You do smart contracts so you can lock information and prevent it from actually being altered. You could put a 1,000,000-page legal document on the Ethereum blockchain. If someone tries to change a period on that blockchain, the hash fails.
Right.
So that's how you protect information.
Right.
It's 100% uptime. This is what Wall Street, as they think about the narrative around the future, is they're building their entire system on contracts like Ethereum, which is really bullish for Ethereum.
What is it?
Okay, so if we talk about stable coins, Tether has about 160 billion of US dollars tokenized on Tether is a company.
Yes.
But it's mostly running on Ethereum. Even though it's only 168 billion, which is less than 1% of M1, so it's not even like risk assets, it's not credit equity tokenization.
Right.
They're going to make $20 billion this year. Actually, because of their balance sheet, they might be making like $24 billion.
And that's just the interest on the treasuries that they own to back the dollar value of the coin.
And because they're over collateralized, they actually own like now almost $30 billion worth of gold or something.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
But so let's say they make 20 billion, not 24, but somewhere between 20 and 24. They're a top 5 most profitable bank in the world.
It's amazing.
They make more money than Goldman or Morgan Stanley.
That's amazing.
And that's just a monoline product with 300 employees. So let's say the Wall Street tries to do their own blockchain because they want to control the narrative. Then there's going to be a new JP Morgan that is like Tether that'll be built on the public chains, because Tether's built on public chains, and
Right.
it's better than JP Morgan has 300,000 employees. Tether has 300, and
Yeah.
they make almost as much money as JP
It's
Morgan.
crazy.
여러분, 지금 당장 계좌가 녹아내리는 고통에만 집중하고 계신가요? 분석가 톰리는 지금 이 먼지가 다 가라앉은 뒤에 올 진짜 그림을 보고 있습니다. 놀랍게도 그의 시각은 아주 낙관적인데요. 대다수가 놓치고 있는 월가의 거대한 움직임을 주목해야 합니다. 금 월가는 조용히 하지만 확실하게 결제 시스템 전체를 블록체인 위에서 다시 설계하고 있습니다. 이건 단순한 실험 수준이 아닙니다. 금융 시스템의 뿌리 자체가 통째로 바뀌고 있다는 뜻이죠. 그 증거가 바로 스테이블 코인입니다. 테더 하나만 봐도 알 수 있습니다. 약 1,600억 달러를 토큰화해서 굴리고 있는데 국채 이자 수익만 연간 200억 달러가 넘습니다. 놀라운 건 이 회사의 직원이 단 300명 뿐이라는 겁니다. 직원이 30만 명인 JP모건과 거의 대등한 수익을 내고 있는 건데요. 이 압도적인 수익성을 보고도 가만히 있을 금융기관이 있을까요? 지금 모든 대형은행이 스테이블코인 시장에 뛰어든다는 건 다 이유가 있는 법입니다. 여기서 핵심은 이더리움입니다. 톰리는 월가가 결국 이더리움을 기반으로 시스템을 구축할 거라고 확신합니다. 검증된 데이터와 강력한 인프라 때문이죠. 스마트 컨트랙트를 이용하면 그 어떤 정보도 위변조가 불가능합니다. 100만 페이지짜리 법정문서에서 마침표 하나만 바꿔도 시스템이 바로 거부해버리죠. 금융 시스템이 원하는 100% 신뢰와 보안성을 이더리움은 이미 증명해냈습니다. 물론 지금의 가격 흐름은 처참합니다. 금과 은 같은 귀금속이 시장의 투자 심리를 싹 다 빨아들이고 있거든요. 돈이 되는 쪽으로 트레이더들이 잠시 옮겨간 것뿐입니다. 하지만 톰리는 단언합니다. 귀금속이 고점을 찍는 순간 가상화폐는 바닥을 찍고 다음 랠리를 시작할 거라고 말이죠. 그는 이미 그 움직임을 준비하고 있습니다. 결국 질문은 하나로 귀결됩니다. 여러분은 지금의 상황을 끝장난 시장으로 보시나요? 아니면 진짜 상승을 위한 마지막 리셋으로 보시나요? 여러분의 생각은 어떤지 댓글로 자유롭게 남겨주세요. 오늘 영상이 도움이 되셨다면 구독과 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.